So I'm gonna go over how we're gonna be finishing these up today, things that you don't wanna forget about, and also just kind of cleaning them up a little bit, making them nice and neat. Now, my project is kind of in a leather hard stage right now. I accidentally left it out before, after my other class, but that's okay, I could still re-wet it. I want you guys to really notice though this sheen on it. That's when it starts to become leather hard. And the reason it's called leather hard is because it looks really shiny as it starts to dry out. We're gonna go over that a lot more in our next project. We're gonna be actually burnishing them to make them even glossier. Before your project starts to dry out, you want to do a few things once you're finished building it. The first one is you want to add a hole for water. What I did for this one was I just took the end of a paintbrush and kind of started making a hole and then opened it up a little bit this way. If you guys have pretty much any tool you could use. Ideally, I would use a pin tool. Like I said, I couldn't send these home with you guys, but anything that will open up the area that you want to fill your Chia Pet with water. You're gonna want a decent size hole on the top. What happens in the kiln is the clay is going to shrink a little bit, about 12%, because all of the water is leaving the sculpture. All right, so it's going to be a little bit lighter, and it's also going to be a little bit smaller because it's actually losing some of its mass. Make sure you get that hole. Make sure that everything else is also enclosed because we don't want the water to go ahead and leak out. Like we said, the clay itself is going to almost act as a soil for our chia seeds, and that's how we're going to go in and we're going to grow them. The next thing you want to do is you're going to want to flip over your Chia Pet. And if there's anywhere else besides the area that's gonna hold the water that has a hollowed out space, you wanna make sure to make little pinholes or little marks that go all the way through in order for that part not to go kaboom, all right? Because if we don't go in and put some little air holes, do you guys see like how that kind of like, once I put this in, it kind of eventually hit the negative space. You could go in and do a few. You could use like a toothpick if you're working at home. That's totally fine. If your project's still pretty wet, like mine was this morning, I just used a green tool and I use that to push in. But because I let this dry out and it did get a little bit leathery on me, I want to go in and use a pin tool. Okay. Go in, take a look at your sculpture, smooth everything up that should be smooth. You could go in with your rib tool and scratch any of the little bumpy areas off. You could also go in with a paintbrush and some water if you think that's going to be easier for you. It depends really where the area is going to be. I think that if I were to maybe go under here, I might paint it up a little bit with just some water. But those are pretty smooth. Try to go in and really like clean any of the details up. And sometimes what I like to do as well is I know that this eye here has quite a bit of clay. I'm gonna go right underneath like the eye here and I'm gonna kind of conceal a little hole right in that space. So you're not gonna really see it, but just in case any air is trapped in there, you have those little holes. So I'm gonna do those just on these larger sections because I know I have quite a bit of clay there. All right, so I have my sculpture now. I have my hole to put the water in. I have my holes underneath to release air from any, spot that's hollowed out. If you guys did not hollow something out, you might want to go in and cut it open and scoop it out a little bit, and we could kind of go over that one by one. Let me go and re-poke that open. And if you're doing air holes from the bottom, it can't hurt to do too many. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to create an area to hold our chia seeds. And you're going to put these markings wherever you want your seeds to grow. Now, traditionally on chia pets, and a lot of the ones we looked at, they have scratches in the side. So little markings to, go ahead and hold those. If you want to do something like that, I would recommend using your ribbon tool. And you could just kind of go in. I would go with the shape of the animal, however that's going to be. And just go in and carve out little lines like that. And I would say leave about 1 centimeter in between them. So I'm getting these little lines in there. This is gonna help you not get super, super crumbly areas. It's also gonna make some really deep inset marks for the seeds to go ahead and set in. Now, if you maybe don't wanna keep this as a chia pet forever, you can go ahead in and use a different texture. I think I'm gonna do each side something different now that I started to demo. So one side, I thought I would do all these little dots, and I just made them by sticking different ends of paintbrushes and markers and things like that into it. For the other side, I think I'm gonna scratch it, and then I think I'm also going to maybe make some little scales or something. So think of it in that way. And I know I think I was talking to some of you guys in class about a few of you had turtles. Make the turtle shell how you would want a turtle sculpture to look. That way, if it doesn't have its, little chia growths on it, you have a really nice little turtle sculpture. All right. I started doing this when my clay, like I said, was a little bit more in the workable stage, but I just went and I picked up a bunch of different things and started making little holes in it. And the reason I'm doing this design is because on the puffer fish, there were a lot of little intricate holes, and I thought okay, that would be really cute then if I don't plan on using this later. But I'm really excited for it to puff up, and I think that having these little holes will really emulate that design that I'm looking for. And we kind of chit chat based on each one of your designs. But wherever you want the chia seeds to grow, you're gonna wanna have the markings for them to set in. What happens is I'm gonna mix up a bunch of chia seeds. You let them set up overnight and they almost become like a jelly with little seeds in it. We're gonna put them on our fired chia pets, and it usually takes about 6-7 days to really get some growth going on. So I don't want to go ahead and do my fin. I'm going to leave that. But I just want to tell you, kind of let you guys know, you could do different textures if you want to. I don't want you to feel like you have to stick with the standard, scraped lines in it. If you want to, that is totally fine. But just letting you know. I think I'm gonna continue this all the way back until the fin area here. because I just want this part to puff out, and I want to have the face and the end of the tail be okay. Now on this one, like I said, I started adding some of these little scratch marks. You can continue that. You could also go in and make some impressions in the clay, and I'm gonna do this on the belly of it because I don't really want them on my sculpture per se, but you could go in and push in some ribbon tools. You could use paper clips. You could use all kinds of things to create little grooves in the clay. So I was just using this ribbon tool, but something like this would be fine. It would hold the seeds in. So if you want to do something like that, you can. Really anything that's going to make an impression that will fit a little tiny seed. So you could even like wiggle this a little bit to get more of an imprint. And I kind of like that this is on the bottom of the fish. It looks cute. Looks like little scales or something. So you guys could carve, you can texture, really whatever you want. What you want to make sure you have by realistically the end of Wednesday, Thursday, if you are coming in as my, what is it, orange, blue? Hybrid group. My Thursday, Friday hybrid group. If you need to finish, then you could finish as we go through some of the art history stuff. That would be fine. So you want to make sure that you have your hole to put your water in. Only in the space, like my pinch pots go from like here to here. You want to have holes anywhere where you have a lot of clay or it's not a part that you're growing chia seeds on. However, it's hollow. All right, I'm just gonna say again, if it's hollow and it doesn't have a place for the air to escape, it will find its own escape, and we don't want that to happen. Go ahead, put in any of the textures that you guys wanna put in. Anything, you know, like I said, will hold the chia seeds as long as it's bigger than the seeds, and they'll go into those little grooves. So we kind of talk about it in class today. If you guys want to do some different textures, different patterns on yours. So, you know, when it's not a chia pet, it's a pretty cool sculpture as well. And that was dangerous. Don't do this. Your fin might break off if you have a fish. So be careful. They're gonna start to get pretty fragile on you. Make sure that you are covering them with wet paper towels or damp paper towels and your plastic bag. Once you guys are finished, like totally finished, I'm gonna have you wrap them up really well in plastic, like really, really well. And we're gonna let them sit like this for like 2 days, check on them, see the state they're in, and we're gonna gradually let it dry slow until we're letting it dry with the bag just very, very slightly draped over. So your last drying will just kind of be like that until it's completely dried out. If you guys have something with really like little fragile pieces on it, I might kind of keep it in like a workable state until you drop it off to be fired. That way, you know, if it breaks, it'll be easier to repair. But, you know, if it dries out, that's okay too. So after this, they will be fired, and I'm gonna have to fire them twice. Once is the bisque firing. If you guys wanna apply a little bit of glaze anywhere on them, we could go ahead and do that. And then I'm gonna fire them all to a high fire, and then we'll go ahead and we'll put the chia seeds on. The clay will be permanent. It will not, like, you know, absorb any of the water in a way that's gonna break it down. It's just gonna absorb it in the way that it's gonna help the plant life grow. So there's our demo on finishing up, and you know, kind of see what you guys have, and we'll go from there.